Okay, so we look at Crysis 2 at 21:9. So before I continue, I want to let potential viewers who are looking for a fix to the FPS locking at higher resolutions issue, that I do address it within here and I have a fix. So let's look at the 21:9 support first of this 2011 game, and wow, it is still one great looking game. Compare it to titles like the first Dark Souls, COD Mod 3, Skyrim, Portal 2, Saints Row the Third. It still comes out top, even against beauties like Battlefield 3, all from the same year. I just can't believe it's been so long since these games were released. Really does seem like the other day. Anyway, on the ultra-wide support of Crysis 2. The gameplay automatically supports ultra-wide resolutions, showing off more of the world on the sides of the screen. However, there is no FOV slider, and it requires a command line in the console to allow you to adapt it to whatever you want. I'll put in exactly what you need to type in the description, but in brief, you hit the console key, the one which is on the left of your number 1 key on your keyboard, and in this window that appears, type in CL_FOV and then the number that you want. I use 74, but you can use between 55 and 80, so your choice. Now this is frustrating, as you have to do this every time you load up the game. So the best way to fix this is, once you've worked out what FOV you want, make a note of it, and then in Origin, right click on the game tile, and in game properties, add the same FOV line you were putting into the console. Again, details on what to do in the description. And now it will automatically set your FOV each time you start, which is just beautiful. It's what it really should have been at the start anyway. The HUD scales to the sides of the screen correctly, there's no stretching or 16:9 limitations. However, I did get it occasionally cut off when kicking in doors in mini cutscenes, but it jumps straight back when you take over control again, so it's nothing to worry about. The red dot in sights is actually slightly stretched sideways. It's not really noticeable, but for the sake of detail I thought I should make a note of it. When using armor, the very size of the armor hexagon effect is significantly stretched, but that again will scale with FOV. And with the laser attachment on weapons, as you increase your FOV, the lineup of the laser dot on the object that it hits, and where the laser line leaves the gun, those two things fail to match up, and the higher the FOV, the more and more noticeable it is. It doesn't actually affect where the bullet lands, so it will still be center screen, but yeah, it's a bit weird, it's just a strange side effect. There are 3 types of cutscenes, odd I know, but you have your 2 pre-rendered ones, a 16:9 with black barred version and a 21:9 zoomed version, and you have a 3rd type which is in-game, and in these moments the entire screen space is used correctly. There's no stretching, zooming or 16:9 cropping, thankfully. So as I stated at the start of the video, Crysis 2 has a strange issue where it locks its FPS to 50 at anything above 1080p when DirectX 11 is selected. Drop down to DirectX 9 and you can run higher than 50, but yeah, it's very strange, and so that leaves you with 3 ways to run the game. Either 2560 by 1080 with full FPS, DirectX 11, or 3440 by 1440 but with a 50 FPS lock on DirectX 11. Or the final option is 3440 by 1440 DirectX 9, but then you have the full FPS. So I was fine playing at 2560 by 1080 before on DirectX 11 and I could get 60 FPS. But when I moved up to the X34 Predator, I now had access to higher than 60 FPS and I had 1440p. But when I loaded up at 3440 by 1440 for the first time, I couldn't find a way to run it above 50 FPS and found nothing online about it. There is a way to lock the FPS to whatever you wish with sys_max_fps, the same kind of command you use to manipulate your FOV, but that still doesn't allow you to go above 50. However, I happened upon a fix by luck whilst fiddling around myself with the game. Basically, when in windowed mode, the FPS lock no longer applies, and you can run like me at 95 FPS or whatever you want. But obviously windowed mode is nasty to look at, and so you want to use a program like Windowed Borderless Gaming. I'll link to it in the description. And so you can play now at whatever FPS you like, at whatever resolution. Something that just really is so important, especially as we now move away from 1080p 60 FPS days. Performance-wise, I was able to run everything on top settings with only shading dropped from extreme to ultra to get a steadier FPS above 60 at all times. I found myself fluctuating between 65 and 95 throughout my time playing on a GTX 980 Ti at 3440 by 1440. So yes, whilst it's still a good looking game, it does run very well. When zooming in with a scope, iron sights are not included in this, FPS tanks quite a lot. I lost up to 15 FPS in moments, which is something to take into account when you're choosing your graphics settings. A nice thing I did find though was there's near instant loading when you die. It's just awesome. When you do die, you can just jump straight back into the level, even on a hard drive. Now the final oddity in this already riddled title is the pump action shotgun and the revolver have a very stuttery animation, as if they're running at 20 FPS, whilst the rest of the world around them runs perfectly smoothly. It's very strange, but the shotgun is most notable and is actually quite, well, uncomfortable to look at a lot. You can see in the gameplay behind what I mean, but I couldn't find a fix for it. It's just something you gotta live with, and I don't know why it's happening. Overall, the game is still good looking. It's clear it's from 2011, but that does mean that you can run it on weaker hardware more easily, which is always a good thing for those looking for games on lower end systems. The gameplay is still pretty shallow. The stealth still annoys me a lot with its instant discovery from any distance, though I suppose some people might love that. And the story is rather hard to keep up with, and furthermore, just try and care about. I just couldn't find myself caring about either side of it. But at the same time, I still found it good fun to play, and at £1.50, which is what I picked it up for, it's not exactly a hit on your wallet if you don't enjoy it. So I hope that gives you some information on how the game runs at 21:9. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe for future info. For any other games at 21:9, head over to my channel. Hopefully I've covered it. If I haven't, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and cover it. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, then links to my Patreon page are in the description. See you later.
This is Azure 3. We are inbound. Sector Alpha.
Azure 3. He's on the rooftop. Light him up.
Roger that.